What's up guys, this is Mr. Erdogan here, and this is episode 8 of my series to teach you guys how to read music. Roll the intro. Okay, if you watched my last episode, I left you with a challenge at the end of the episode, and it was to try to figure out this note name. Now let's do a quick review of a few things before we think about what that note name might have been. So last episode we talked about a musical staff, that is this thing here with the 5 lines. We talked about naming our lines on the staff, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5. And we also talked about naming the spaces on our staff, space 1, space 2, space 3, and space 4. Also, our first trick for naming notes was called face on the space. And we used that trick to figure out what our note names were for the notes that landed on the spaces. So we would spell face on the spaces. So F would be there, then A, then C, then E. And for all of these tricks, we would always start at the bottom, just like we were climbing up a ladder. And remember, I talked about my musical ladder, where you wouldn't be able to jump up to the top, then climb down. You would always start climbing your ladder from the bottom. And I'm gonna put the note names on that musical ladder too, just to kind of give us a little reference for what we're doing for this challenge here. Okay, so going back to the challenge from last episode, so we have our trick here that tells us the note names on the spaces, but we haven't learned how to figure out these lines yet. And that's actually what we're gonna be learning today, our second trick. That's the trick that's gonna tell us what the names are of the notes on the lines. But there's still a way to figure out this answer to this challenge just by using our first trick, face on the space. Now, if you remember, on our musical ladder, we had our note names listed all out, and I showed you how they repeated as it went past the higher G and how it repeated past the low A. So we would have our normal A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then repeat A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on and so forth. And that could pretty much go on forever. And below that, it would be the same thing, just in reverse. So G, F, E, and so on and so forth. So whenever we're trying to find notes on a staff, if we just remember our musical ladder and the face on the space trick, we will be fine. And speaking of face on the space, this F here, this A, this C, and this E are the letters that spell face. So that would be the F-A-C-E that would actually go on the spaces of the staff. And if we have another look at our challenge from the last episode, we would see the note is between the F and the A. Well, if we look at our ladder, the only note that is between those two is a G. And that's how we get the answer. Did you get the right answer? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, so as I said in this lesson, we're going to learn the second trick we use to name notes. And the name of that trick is the title of this episode, Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge. Now, some of you may have heard that before, but what does that mean exactly? So we already know that the face on the space trick tells us the names of the notes that land in our spaces. So this new trick, Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, tells us the names of the notes that go on the lines. Okay, so let's go back to a fresh musical staff and apply this new trick. So we have these words, every good boy deserves fudge. Now we have to know how to use them. So what we do is take the first letter of each word and put those on the lines of the staff. And just like everything else, we always start from the bottom. So first we take the E from the word every and put that on the first line. Then we take the G from the word good and put that on the second line. Then we take B from the word boy and that goes on the third line. Then we take the D from the word deserves, that goes on the fourth line. And finally we take the letter F from the word fudge, and that goes on the fifth line. And there you have it. Those are the names of the notes for those lines. Now the trick is every good boy deserves fudge, but I've also heard every good boy deserves fun, and some of my music students in the past have even had more fun with it and created their own, which was kind of like a joke in my class, and they made it egg girl, boy, dog, fish. But really, it doesn't matter what you use as long as it helps you remember the notes on the lines, which are E, G, B, D, and F. Can you think of something on your own that has E, G, B, D, and F in it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you come up with. Okay, so now you might be saying, Mr. Erdogan, what if I can't remember every good boy deserves fudge is meant to be on the lines? Well, that's a great question. If you can remember the names of the tricks and that one of them is called Face on the Space and the other one is Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, you will realize that the trick called Face on the Space is for the note names that go on the spaces. And therefore, that only leaves one last option. That means that Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge must be for the lines. Also, another easy way to find out is that there are 5 lines and there are 5 words in Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, and therefore 5 notes that have to find homes. Whereas in Face on the Space, there's 4 notes in FACE for Face on the Space, and there's only 4 spaces. That might help you remember as well. Okay, let's have a look at a fresh staff now and do some practice questions. So here are 4 notes on different lines and spaces. Can you figure out what these notes are called? Let's start by using our 2 tricks and putting them on the staff. And this isn't cheating, by the way. This is a legit way to remember how to find the note names. So now that we've done all that, it's now super easy to figure out the note names for all of these 4 notes. So as we can see here, note number 1 is a B, note number 2 is a low E, note number 3 is a high F, and note number 4 is a high E. Not too bad, right? Pay attention to the fact that I called one E a low E and another E a high E. This proves my point I mentioned earlier when discussing my musical ladder concept and how note names just repeat, where some are high and some are low. Okay, now let's move on to your challenge for this episode. Here you have 10 notes to figure out all by yourself, and one of these notes is kind of tricky and isn't either on a space or a line. So it's going to be the hardest one for you to figure out. But if you paid attention to my musical ladder concept, you'll probably be able to figure it out. Let's see if you can guess what it is. And just like always, watch my next episode to find all the answers. In the meantime, go ahead and try to figure out your answers all by yourself and leave me a comment below with what you think the answers are. As usual, if you had any difficulty with any of these or have any questions, leave me a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you with the answer. And also, please don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.